Welcome back to Empower Yourself. Today we will learn about change control. Change control is a formal, systematic approach to managing all changes and modification with specific controls. Change control is a critical component of quality management. So, change control system is a formal way where any modification or any changes that will impact the quality and yield of the product. All such type of modifications and any changes that are being implemented in the pharmaceutical industry has to be documented and has to be tracked through change control system. So change control is a critical component of quality management as well. Here are some of the cases where change controls are initiated but not limited to. Change in the process. So whenever there is a change required in the process, either it could be the route of synthesis or key starting material or any modifications related to the process, then we have to initiate a change control. Specification changes. Specification changes includes change in the method or in the specification limit or inclusion or removal of any test parameters. So all these cases will be included in the specification changes, and whenever such changes are introduced, then we have to initiate the change control. Validations, qualifications. So we all know that whenever we initiate a validation or qualification, it has to be initiated through a change control. Documents revision. This documents revision include either periodical revision of SOPs, BPR, that is batch packing record, batch manufacturing records, or any cleaning records. So any records that requires revision, all those has to be initiated through a change control. Supplier qualification. So here these are some of the examples, and you can include any changes that will have an impact upon the quality and yield. So then you have to initiate a change control and you have to go. Even stability. So what are the cases that have the impact upon the quality of the product as well as the yield of the product? You have to initiate the change control and you have to proceed the flow that has been described in the change controls or change that has been established by the organization. Types of changes. There are two types of changes, major and minor. Major, the change which has impact on the quality and yield of the product. Minor, that doesn't have any impact upon the quality of the product. It is clearly seen that major changes will have impact on the quality as well as yield of the product. Minor changes, they will not have any impact upon the quality of the product. Change control flow. Let us see how a change control has to be initiated, who has to initiate the change control, and how it will be closed as well. So change control will be initiated by the user department. Either it could be the engineering department, quality control department, quality assurance department, HR department, warehouse, production. So whichever the department it could be, the change related to that department has to be initiated through a change control. So they have to include what are the requirements and what are the things that they wanted to propose, that they wanted to implement. So all these things have to be recorded. So in this case, there will be three types of categories. One is what is the current status of the change, and what are the requirements or what are the changes that you wanted to do to the existing requirement, or you are preparing a new, completely new change, and what is the reason behind the change. So all this has to be clearly mentioned during the initiation of the change control by the user department. So the user has to forward the change initiated along with the supporting documents to the quality assurance department, where the quality assurance department is responsible to assess it and give the further assessment and approval as well. So after initiated change will be forwarded to quality assurance department along the required supporting documents. So all the required documents has to be forwarded along with the change control. So quality assurance department will log the details of the changes in the change control log. For example, like they would assign the change control number and they would categorize the change, whether it is major or minor based upon the type of the change, based upon how it is impacting the quality and yield of the product as well. So they would assess all those things and they would see that how it is impacting the already existing systems. If there are any uh, existing systems that would have impact by the change that has been proposed. So all this will be assessed during the assessment by the quality assurance department, as well as they would send the same to the cross-functional teams. For example, if I am initiating a product, new product has been initiated in the organization. So this new product has to be known to everyone. So if there is no knowledge to any of the department, then they could not be aware of how to handle and how we have to manufacture the product. So it is the responsibility of the user to understand the chemistry of each and everything that would impact by the new product that has been introduced into the facility. So that is how the change will be impacting upon the other departments as well. So it is the responsibility that whatever the change that has been initiated should be reviewed or assessed by the other cross-functional teams as well, so that the change that is being going to be implemented will have any impact upon the system of the particular department will be verified and will be assessed. So after completion of all those things, all the activities, the change will be approved by the quality assurance department. So after the approval of the quality assurance department, the proposed changes or the actions which were identified during the assessment of the change to be implemented or executed or prepared depending upon the change. So all this have to be prepared, executed, implemented, and we have to prepare all the reports as identified during the assessment report. So after completion and after achieving all the actions that have been identified and the change control can be initiated for closure. So the change control closure will be initiated after completion of each and every action proposed in the assessment. So based upon that assessment and knowing that all actions have been completed, the change can be closed. And after the completion of the change control, if there are any requirements that has to be monitored after the closing of the change control, those changes have to be monitored. Those include post-change activities. For example, updating it to the regulatory authorities or to the local bodies or getting the license from the local authorities. So all such type of activities will be done after the closure of the change control. So there will be some timelines that would be established by the organization for the categorization of the change. For example, for major change control, there would be some X target timeline beyond which beyond that the change control has to be within the limit, the change control has to be closed. Beyond that, there should be some justification included to close after that target timeline. So for major, particular time limit has to be established, and for minor as well, a particular time period has to be established depending upon the type of the change. Minor change controls. Here are some of the examples of the minor change controls. Like we can categorize them as minor. Periodical review of documents, that is SOPs. So whenever there is a periodical review which is not altering any of the content that has already been existed, but just a periodical review, then that change can be considered to be the minor change. Whenever there are typographical changes that are being observed in the documents, then it could be a minor change. Monograph related changes. Whenever there is updation in the monograph and we need to be aligned and we need to be in the updated form. So whenever such a type of changes occur, that changes can be considered to be the minor changes. Major change control. Major equipment change, scale up or scale down of the product, new vendor qualifications. So whenever there is a change in the equipment which has an impact upon the quality of the product, and that would have an impact upon the yield of the product as well. Such a type of cases can be considered to be the major change. So scale up or scale down of the products beyond 10 folds and new vendor qualification as well. Whenever qualifying a new vendor that is completely new, or the process that has been manufactured by the vendor is completely new from the already existing process, then such a type of change can be considered to be the major change. Changes related to departments. Here are some of the examples where change control has to be initiated and it is not limited to production, revision of BMR, BPR, BCR, SOPs validation, equipments, job responsibility. Engineering, facility related changes, SOPs, job responsibility. Quality control, instrument changes, specification, software related changes, qualifications, SOPs, job responsibilities. Quality assurance, SOPs, job responsibilities, site master file. Warehouse, SOPs, job responsibilities. HR policies, SOPs, job responsibilities. So these are some of the examples where a change has to be initiated. And it is clear that whenever the change is impacting upon the quality of the product and yield of the product, and to be in line with the GMP guidelines, then a change has to be initiated and it has to be tracked. For example, let us see whenever there is a change in an SOP. For example, it is related to a SOP that is impacting upon each and every department. So, for example, it is some training SOP and how a person has to be trained and what are the systems that have been changed and what are the criteria that to be met by the personnel. So that is the responsibility and that is the SOP related to the quality assurance. So quality assurance will raise the change control related to the SOP, and that will be forwarded to each and every individual department, and each and every individual department inputs will be taken. So that change will be impacting each and every individual department that is in the organization. So what it does is that, so it would take, the change control will be initiated by the quality assurance department, and the quality assurance department will be assessing the change control, giving the change control numbering, and it logging all the details of the changes in the particular log or the software that has been designed. So the number will be allotted and it will be authorized, that is whoever is assessing, so that person will be authorizing, and that will be forwarded to the other departments, cross-functional departments as well. So the cross-functional departments would see what are the changes that are happening to the existing as well as the new proposed changes, and they would give some suggestions or some of the comments would be implemented by the cross-functional team. The cross-functional team to quality assurance department would be the production, engineering, quality control, warehouse, HR. So all these other departments would be the cross-functional teams to quality assurance in this case. So the inputs would be received from all the other departments and finally been brought to the quality assurance department. So based upon the inputs and the comments that have been received, the quality assurance department head would approve the change. So after approval of the change, the SOP would be prepared related to the training. So it would be prepared by one, checked by or reviewed, and it would be approved. So before going to implement the particular action, so during the assessment, these are the criteria that has been identified, like preparation of the SOP, giving training to 100% individuals that are present in the organization. So these are the two criteria that has to be met before closure of the change control. So it is the responsibility of the quality assurance department to verify, to prepare the change control, and before the implementation of the SOP, the training has to be given to each and every individual of the organization. So after verification of all these things, the document would be implemented. After implementation, so we need to get the supporting informations like trainings from all the departments as well as the implementation of the SOP. So all these two copies has to be attached to the change control, and the change can be initiated for the closure. So this is how, so then the change control will be closed, saying that my SOP implementation has been completed and training has been given to 100% 100% of the personnel that are present in the organization. So based upon all those things, the change control will be closed, and the closing details will be logged into the particular change control logs, either in the software or in the manual systems. So this is how the change will be executed. Here are some of the references we can learn more about change control. That is ICHQ7, ICHQ10, Annex 5 of EU GMP guidelines. I hope you have learned uh, about change control and how we have to execute it, and what are the types of the changes. And I know that you have acquired some knowledge through this topic. Hope this has been helpful to you. Thanks for watching and learning. Do share your thoughts. Thanks for watching.